بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا، إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. لله تبارك وتعالى. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Let me individually greet you. Sometimes that is important. So, Karima wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. And Selina wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. Samira wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. Tawheed, Shaheed Tawheed wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. Fatima Muhammad wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. زوجتي رسولي الراقية وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. And Rahim وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. Africa, I'm so happy to be here. Imam Genius وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. Imam Naim, are you back? Are you back, Habibi? Are you finished playing with the monkeys? Oh, still in transit. Where are you at? Are you in a hotel or are you traveling on a plane? Are you stable? Oh, come on, man. Join me. Here, I'm going to send you the link. It's only for Imam Naim. Since you got internet, come on, join me, man. It's scattered thoughts. Let's have some scattered thoughts. Come on, join me. We had a beautiful conversation yesterday. You missed it. So I need some help. MashaAllah. Muhammad Abdul Malik Shabazz. Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. Islam Muhammad. Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. So yesterday we got to the aspect of feeling, of family. And this summit, the African American Islamic Summit, is very important to me. I'm sorry. Brother Baron, wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. Sister Khadija, wa alaykum salam. I didn't see you. I heard you were at the funeral, but I didn't see you. I didn't see hardly any women, very few. MashaAllah. Thank you for coming, though. May Allah reward you. Hajj Tamir. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. I was going to crack a joke, Hajj Tamir, but I don't think it's befitting. My sense of humor always is not funny. It cracks me up, but it might not be funny to everybody else. So I'll leave it alone. Hafsa, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. And Abdul Batin, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. So we was talking about the family. And I left off talking about the marriage situation. And that is something that I want to say. How many of you have been Muslim for 40 years or more? Even if you were not having the correct creed and you misunderstood the deen, but in your mind, when you said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah, whatever was all the mistakes or whatever, that's a natural process. But when you actually thought you were a Muslim, whether that was a reality or not a reality, I'm talking about what you thought, that's been more than 40 years. I want to know how many of you have been involved in Islam or the concept of Islam or a desire for Islam for 40 years or more. How many of you? Let me see. Me. Selena, Arakia. You need to talk. Let's talk, Ak. I'm ready, Ak. So 30, 35 years. Okay, 33 years. So I need the 40 year and above, right? And I'm asking that for a reason. Because in 40 years, you've seen a whole lot. Even in 30 something years, you saw a lot. But 40, 50 years, you've seen a lot of transitions in Islam, especially in the Black community. And so when I talk about the family issue, right? Because here's the link right here. That's the link right here, Imam Naim. There's the link. In 40 years, I'm more than 40 years, but I'm saying in those 40 years, I've seen so much. And in my youth, I would like to say, in my youth, I was more active than I am now. In my youth, I was more active in the Islamic structure than I am now. So if you think I'm active now, imagine what my youth looked like, right? If you say, Dad, he's always teaching, he's always involved. My youth was way more than that. I look at my youth and I look at today and I put my head down. I'm like, you a lazy dude, right? But and I mean that. I often think, man, I wish I could get that spirit that I had when I was young. I'm talking about just the feeling. I have the conviction, but not the spirit and feeling. I'm old, punch drunk, don't want no more work. Africa, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam
I'm
rahmatullahi
so
wa
glad you
barakatuh.
are being here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Where is the monkeys? All right, I'm gonna finish, but we're gonna share this one today, inshallah. Uh, so In my youth, Muslim and black was synonymous. Muslim and the black struggle was synonymous. Muslim and black empowerment was synonymous. Muslim entrepreneurship was synonymous. Muslim self-pride and dignity was synonymous. That's how I grew up. And I've watched it develop to where Muslim means the polar opposite of being black. Especially, and I want to say this. When I say black, I'm not talking about African. When I say black, I'm talking about us Americans who were raised here, descendants of ex-slaves, whatever you want to, us. We are a unique people. There's no one like us on the planet Earth. I think we don't realize that, most of us. But let me ask y'all should. Do y'all realize that we are a unique people? A special people that don't exist nowhere else? I've traveled the world, so I know we don't exist nowhere else. There's nobody like us in the planet Earth, right? And I'm not speaking that from a guy who ain't did no traveling. My passport's been filled up over and over and over again, right? Ain't nobody like black folks in the world, right? So with that being said, and when I say that, I don't mean that always, as some people may misunderstand, I don't mean that necessarily in a negative either. Both the negative and the positive. There ain't nobody like black folks, right? When we do it right, can't nobody touch us. And when we do it wrong, can't touch us either. That's us, right? But I think we've got to a point by emulating others, following other cultures, wherever they may be from. And if you've been around enough, you've seen every culture had its meal on the black community. And I'm talking about as Muslims in Islam, every culture from abroad has had its teeth in the black community at some point in time, if you've been around long enough to notice it, right? I've been around over 40 years. I've been watching people come and have a feast on the black community in the name of Islam. And I've watched them come and go, come and go. I've watched it over 40 years. I've seen it. And I can describe it. I can point to it. I can articulate it. I was around. And as I said, I was active. So therefore, I was involved. So I know what was going on. And I was a young guy. All my peers were at least 10 to 15, sometimes even 20 years older than me. I never hung with my peer group, ever. I've always been with elders since I was a little kid, right? When I was in the masjid at 10, 11, 12, everybody was 22, 23, 30. That was my peer group, right? So I matured kind of fast because of that. So I seen it. I seen all that stuff, right? And I look now today, fast forward decades, 4 decades. I look forward, we still on people's platter. And because we are unique people, if we don't realize that, we're going to remain on somebody's platter. This is what the summit should teach us. And I'm going back to the family thing, but I just wanted to state this. It is extremely important that we get off the table and get at the table. It is extremely important that we get off the table and we get at the table. There's a big difference. We've always been the meal. We never be the ones eating or deciding the meal. We're the meal. Mentally, emotionally, religiously, socially, economically, we've always been the meal. And everyone has got their stomachs nice and fat and threw us away like the bones. The summit is designed that we reclaim our God-given right on this earth in this time to be a man, to be respected as a man by any means necessary. No, seriously. That's important. And the one who listens and objects don't feel it. So you don't have any empathy for it because you eating off of them. But I think it's time, and I'm very deliberate. I do a lot of things intentionally. You will notice that a lot of times we talk, we're not quoting Quran and Sunnah. We're not saying Allah said this in the Quran and there's a hadith in this. There's a reason why we don't do that. Do anyone figure why we don't do it? We teach books though, so it's obvious we can do it, right? We done taught over 30 books from cover to cover over these years, right? So obviously we can do it, but why you think we don't do it? I want to hear your answer to that. I'm talking about me. I can't speak. Well, the genius, he's al-hafiz, al-muhaddith, al-faqih, al-lughawi, al-nahwi, al-mutakallim, al-usuli, all of those lofty titles. But me, you know why?
In my dreams.
But I'm going to tell you, let me see why you think. Okay, mashallah. Haja Stacy's on it. That's a good one, Haja Stacy. The application is different for our situation. That's nice. Anyone else? Because you're a Jahil deviant, that's why. Dal Mudil. Oh, mashallah. There you go, David. You on it. Speaking to people in a language they understand on their level. MashaAllah. All right. Anybody else before I give you my answer? I like to engage with you. That's why I ask. I don't like just talking at you. I wish we could have some big screen in this same platform and we could all come on and we could. I like it like that, but we ain't there yet. Right. You have to talk to the people and not at the people. Right. I'll tell you why I don't do it. From experience over all these years, I noticed that we as a people, you quote Quran and Sunnah to escape reality. In fact, we quote Quran and Sunnah to justify our escape from reality. In other words, Allah say this, and the Messenger Allah Ta'ala says this, and the Prophet Sallallahu and all that means lack of engagement at the end of the day, which is the direct opposite of what the Quran and the Sunnah wants from you. The Quran and the Sunnah dictates that you be involved, but you've took the Quran and Sunnah to escape being involved. So all you do is a parrot quoting, but means nothing. Because if you look, most of the Sahaba, radiallahu ta'ala anhum, if you study the seerah and read the stories about the Sahaba, they wasn't walking around quoting Quran and Sunnah. They was living it on a practical level. You didn't go to the companions, and when you talk to them, they was like, call Allah, call Rasulullah. That's not what you heard from them. The actual meaning of the Quran and Sunnah was a part of their life and was understood, right? That, and even when I learned with my teachers, you don't hear that from traditional scholars. They would give a whole talk, and actually, you rarely would hear a verse of the Quran or a hadith. But the meanings of the Quran and the hadith would be filled in those discussions. Filled, right? Because it was more about implementation than quotation. It was more about implementation than quotation. Because relating a text doesn't always translate into becoming that text. Most of the time, it doesn't relate at all. Just narration. Okay, now how we apply that? How is all these verses in the hadith that you keep quoting going to change our condition? And we've used that to make our situation worse. So Malcolm said something, let me read it to you. Where's my glasses? Imam Naim, 1 second, let me just read this. I'm sorry, I gotta get my glasses. Can't see.
Got to keep your reading glasses nearby, man.
I'm due for some new reading glasses, man. I'm wearing these joints out. Um, um, okay, here you go. Wait a minute. What was that? Oh, go ahead, Naeem. Start. Give us some introduction before while I look for this. Inshallah, Molana.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Alhamdulillah.
Did you hear yesterday?
Yeah, I actually which one? Yesterday morning or last night?
Last night or the morning. So, could you
I
give your?
heard most of the morning, but when it got real juicy, the Muslim world, third world internet got on extra buffer mode, so it started buffering the whole time. But I heard all of last night. So I actually watched the replay right after y'all went off.
Oh, okay.
Alhamdulillah. But really, in connection with what you were just saying about quoting, the Quran and the Sunnah, it reminded me of what one of the brothers said to me when we were overseas last year in Gambia. And I wish I could remember the exact wording he used because, he said it so eloquently. But basically, he said the practice of Islam that we have in America is more legalistic. In other words, even those of us who don't study or are not interested in seeking knowledge, if we practice something or say something, we can usually point you to the verse in the Quran or point you to the Hadith, uh, indicating that thing. Whereas in the Muslim world, you see that most people can't do that, but it's baked in their culture. So their Islam is cultural, where ours is more legalistic. In other words, we can point you, even if we don't know it exactly, even if we misquote. A lot of people misquote. A lot of people say, Allah said this, and Allah didn't say that. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it, or vice versa. Even a person who does that, his practice, his understanding is still legalistic. It's not baked into his culture, his everyday life. Whereas, overseas, where uh, many of the Muslims come from, you know, they can't tell you Sahih anything. They just it's part of their culture. Like I just left there, and most of the Muslims are fasting the 6 days of Shawwal. They're not going to be able to tell you, what hadith is in and what's the level of the hadith, or some of them may not even be able to tell you that it's hadith that encourages that. But you find that fasting the 6 days of Shawwal for them is almost like it's wajib culturally. If you, everybody's asking themselves, when you going to start your 6 days? And if you him and her, or if you stutter, or I'm not, people look at you funny, like, aren't you Muslim? Like, you, the 6 days, sure, Ramadan's over. When you gonna start? That's and then
Uh-oh. I guess he's still using an African Wi-Fi. He'll come back. Go ahead,
am I back
Imam.
yet?
Yeah, you back.
Hotel Wi-Fi is trash. Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. You know, the people there, they don't go around quoting all these hadith, and they may not even know it. Probably not even to quote it or paraphrase it, but they're practicing it. Like that's just one example. That's off the top of my head. You still ain't find your quote yet.
I have it in my mind. I was trying to quote it verbatim. Um,
Hey, hush, Samira. Why he's still in Gambia? Network no good.
anyway, I'll find it later. Uh, but my point was, one of the things that Alhaj Malik Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X, and I want to share something. This is my point. Uh, I'm going to come back to that point. So you'll hear sometimes I'll say Malcolm X and I say Alhaj Malik Shabazz, right? Rahimullah. I say Malcolm X because he never had a problem with that himself. You study all the way up till he died. You never hear him saying to somebody when they call him Malcolm X, Mr. Malcolm, Mr. X, here's a, oh, my name is Alhaj Malik Shabazz. You never heard him say that. You a study of him. Have you ever heard him say that to somebody?
Nope. In fact, he actually said the opposite. When he came back from overseas, he was doing an interview at the airport, I believe. I may be getting it mixed up in my head. I think it was when he just literally just touched down, or maybe it was the interview right after that. But anyway, uh, he said, "You see, you growing." They asked him about growing his beard. They asked him about the new Muslim name, Haj Malik Shabazz, and then he mentioned what it means. And then the interviewer asked him, "Will you now drop X and go by this other name?" And he said, "No." He said, "As long as the situation continues that produced the X, I will continue using it." And then he further said that, how good he was treated in the Muslim and in the African world, and he honored by that. But he says, as long as my brothers amongst the black people, the African Americans, as long as we all aren't treated and honored like that, then I'm still X. And you know I'm not honored and respected until all of my people are honored and respected. I misquoted him, but that's basically what he said. And so, this is
And
our sentiments as well.
right. So, and here's my point. I was saying that to say this, that that feeling he had is the same feeling we have in terms of we got to stop thinking that Islam makes us other than who we are within our reality. And people who don't have our reality have tried to remove us from working on our reality by all kinds of means while they benefit from that and we still suffer. So I think some of the things that, as I was talking about that, I do it intentionally for that reason. Because if we become the family that we need to become, our education is going to naturally grow in the deen. Because that's what we do. But at the same time, with that education, we're not going to lose who we are, nor our reality and what we need to do about it. But think about it. One of the things that Malcolm X did was he was engaged diligently on all levels of the Black struggle, even to politics, voter registrations, all that stuff, right? Think about it. We got on the Quran and Sunnah and we left all of that stuff in our minds, right? While everyone else who's telling us Quran and Sunnah is doing that in their own lands. Think about that. Everyone who we're learning the Quran and Sunnah is doing that in their lands. Their governments are all corrupt. There's not a righteous government on the face of the earth, right? Like, so some uneducated Negro may think, oh, overseas they on the deen and the government, and no, they're more corrupt than us, right? So, but they're all respecting their government. In fact, they're giving religious judgments why not to go against the government, right? And those governments are more in cahoots with our government than we are as a people. Those governments are more in cahoots with the American government than the Americans are themselves. And we've went to follow people who do that in the name of Islamic knowledge. We got to stop these things. So we have to be deliberate to force us back into our reality. I was thinking about something. And I'm going to share this with you. It's going to be a little controversial, but I'm supposed to be talking about family. But I got so many things to talk about in these scattered thoughts, right? Um, I had an Arab guy, a man, lie to me, right? And I was thinking about, like, he must think I'm stupid. But it wasn't me personally. He think black people are stupid. Because some black people are stupid. That's why they follow him, right? So I do agree in that sense. Some are stupid to follow him, right? He said to me, he was censoring me for being too about race and black. So he was censoring me. Listen to this, Imam Naim. So he says to me, I wish you were like Malcolm X or Barack Obama. I'm not kidding. He said, I wish you were more like Barack Obama or Malcolm X. They wasn't into all this race stuff. And that's why I like Malcolm X. But you're playing the race card and you're trying to rouse black people up. And I thought to myself, I said, what Malcolm X is he listening to?
Malcolm said, if you're black, you should be thinking black. And if you're not thinking black by this late date, well, I'm sorry for you.
Right? But that's what he said to me. And I said, that's insulting. You know nothing about black people. Zilch. And those black people you talking about, Malcolm X called them house Negroes. And he said in his time, house niggas. And we still got some house niggas running around. That was from him, the one you say you love so much. He said that. He said that. The one you talk about you love, he said that. And I said to myself, what they tried to recast Malcolm X as he became Sunni and Orthodox, and now he's what we want him to be. Right? And guess what? They sold that to us and we brought it. So now Malcolm X's grave become a visiting site, but his work is still absent in the community. So we're going to make hijra and we're going to make ziyarah to his grave, but we're not going to do his work. We're not going to do the work. We're not going to be engaged in dealing with our people. I think that's by design. And to the point that if we don't actively fight against that, it's going to be passed to our children. We have to actually fight against that. No, we don't accept. So I was talking to a brother yesterday, and he called me telling me what the Arab said, this particular Arab. I said, who cares what he say? I said, the problem with us is we keep going to somebody who obviously doesn't care about you, asking them permission to be you. I want to repeat that. You're going to someone who obviously showed you, I don't care about you, and you're going to them to ask them permission to be you. If that's not the height of insanity, I don't know what is. Why are you asking him anything? Aren't you a man? Aren't you responsible? Don't you have the same morally responsibility to raise your children and raise your people and build your community as they do? Why are you asking them anything? For what? How did they convince you that your Islam is conditioned upon their thoughts? How did you get that? And then you would get on the internet and criticize independent thinking African Americans because they not on the plantation. And they don't ask the man in their minds, can I do something that I'm supposed to do by an obligation in the religion? We really, really, really need to think about these things. And guess what? If we don't, our families will suffer. Our families will suffer. And if you show me where Black people have been following that example, and it's only different people, show me your children today. After 20 years, 30 years, show me your children. under the leadership of them, show me your children. That's what I felt. That's what I felt. Show me your children. Show me your businesses. Show me your institutions that you could have, because I can give you when you weren't doing that, I can show you your institutions, I can show you what you built. Now that you're doing that, I can show you what you're not doing. And all of us have suffered from this as a Black family. And here's my thing. We have to talk about something that someone else won't talk about. We have to talk about something that someone else won't talk about. And if we don't talk about it, I think we're just as guilty as the one who perpetrates the stuff on us. If we don't talk about it, if we don't do something about it, I think we're just as guilty as the one who's oppressing us. Even more guilty. So, for the sake of our family, I think we need to realize and what we need to do. What we need to do. We need a Black Islamic revolution. We do. And when I say Black, I mean from us, African Americans. In this country, we need a revolution. It needs to be deliberate. It needs to be intentional. It needs to be focused. And it needs to be sustained.
And unapologetic. Unapologetic.
So, listen, everybody coming to the summit, don't come telling me what your boss said. I don't want to hear it. You're going to get your feelings hurt, right? I'm not interested in your boss. I'm interested in you. No, seriously. I'm interested in what you're going to do to build our people. That's what I'm concerned about. And here's what I told someone, one of our students, he's studying it, and he was studying in Egypt. And I said, don't come quoting your sheikh. I want you to become your sheikh. He said, what do you mean? I said, I don't want to hear what your sheikh said. I'm not interested. I want to hear how you became what your sheikh taught you, and you can convey that to my people. How did you become what the sheikh told you? Because I don't want to keep putting someone else in front of my children so my children think they're incapable. Do you follow what I mean? I don't want to keep putting someone else in front of my children so that my children, my family begins to think they're not capable of doing anything except through someone else. Absolutely not. So we're not going to do that. That doesn't mean we're not going to learn. Like the whole world learns from America. And they take that knowledge and they go back and try to improve their condition. Isn't that what the Chinese did? Then they learn stuff, then they send their kids to school, then they take all that, and they came back and built a nation. Isn't that what the Arabs did? Yes. Isn't that what Africans did? You go to all these countries, all of them were educated in the West. And they took all that stuff back and they built whatever they built for their people. Why is it a crime for us to do the same thing? Forget what someone else say. Why do we feel it's a crime for us to do the same thing? Right? I watch every group of people. Tell me you didn't see it. You see a sheikh coming from somewhere else or in their countries. You see everybody kissing their hands. Have you seen that in Africa? Kissing heads, hands, whatever.
Yep.
You've seen it in Africa. I've seen it in the Middle East. I've seen it in Saudi Arabia. I've seen it in Yemen. I've seen it in Egypt. I've seen it in Syria. I've seen it in Lebanon. I've seen it in Pakistan and India. Do you see that among blacks with blacks?
No, we might spit on each other's hand.
Think about it. Have you ever seen us coming up to our black teachers and leaders and showing them that kind of reverence? Have you ever seen it? You ever see somebody walk up and kiss Imam Siraj's hand?
Yeah, they don't be black.
I'm talking about black folks.
I know, but it just shows that even non-black folks appreciate people like Imam Siraj, and he's our people. We don't.
And I'm not talking about the actual kissing of the hand. I'm talking about what it symbolizes, right? But those same people who won't do that for him, you'll see them do that for somebody else, right or wrong.
No doubt.
Right? As if we're not worthy of such reverence and respect, it is only relegated to someone else. This is a problem, and that's a mentality. Let me answer this. And this is the second time, third time, fourth time I'm going to answer this, right? And it's going to hurt, so be mad at me, but I'm going to say it. Imam Fode is not us. No disrespect. Imam Fode don't live with our problems. Imam Fode is not on the ground dealing with black African-American problems. In fact, part of following that is our problem. I know it hurts. I know you may not like it. So stop asking me, is some African going to come get all of our people to follow them? No, we're not doing it. With all due respect, no, we're not doing that. Absolutely not. And it ain't personal to him. It's personal for us. We got to stop following others. We need to follow ourselves. We can learn from someone. We can benefit someone. We're not doing that. We got to stop. It's a problem. I know you may not like it. I know it may hurt, but we got to stop that stuff. And stop trying to make somebody us that ain't us. We can respect you. We can love you. We can benefit you, but we must determine our own direction, not somebody else. We're not going to serve no one else. Them days got to stop. It's killing us. We can't even come together without saying, can someone else be our sheikh?
That's my question. Why would anybody even ask that?
Because that's our mentality. And I'm not
just
talking
him,
about the brother or the sister or the many ask me that. That's our mentality. You Negroes need a supervisor. We don't need no supervisor. We don't need that. We're capable of running our own programs. We're capable of leading our own people in our own direction. We are capable. Why do we have to always surrender our leadership to someone else? Tell me. And trust me, that's what we're doing when we do that. It ain't personal. It's not against him as an individual or any other sheikh. It's not against them as an individual. And if they take it that way, hey, well, I don't know what to tell you. But because it ain't personal when you come to our communities and take our people out of our communities to follow you, and our communities get left with nothing because all of our people are following someone else, that ain't a problem. That ain't a problem. But when we say, no, we're going to keep our resources right here. We're going to build right here where we're struggling at, where we're suffering, where our people are getting miseducated, economic depression and unemployment and social ills, and we're going to be right here on the ground. And if you like, you can come get on the ground with us. Not taking us somewhere where we don't belong, where we're not accepted, and we're not really building for us, because most of us, if you didn't know, Malcolm X told us that in the 60s. If you think we're having a back to African movement, you've lost your mind. Malcolm X told us that. We may have a psychological migration. We may have a spiritual migration, but we got to deal with this reality on the ground. That was Malcolm X in the 60s. Here we are, 2023, and we still didn't get the message. We still missed the memo. That's a problem. And it ain't personal, but we got to fix that. Now, some people say, oh, he went in on Imam Fode. I ain't talking about Imam Fode. I'm talking about us. I have nothing to do with it. I'm not talking about him at all. I'm talking about us. He ain't the problem. We are. We're always trying to interject someone else in our growth and development to curve the center somewhere else. That ain't going to be our reality. And if you're saying is our reality, show me the Dalil. Show me where one of them is on the ground that been following someone else, doing our work for our people and known among us to build for us. Show me. Point them. And that's the direction. Point it to me. I don't see them. I don't see it. In fact, I've seen it firsthand where y'all not even the leaders of that. It's a bunch of immigrants that are not African Americans that are arranging everything, that are putting everything in, and it's based not in America, in Canada. We don't live in Canada, we right here. And we need more than a visit. We need someone on the ground that's going to suffer, that's going to take our pain, that's going to deal with our reality. That's what we need. I'm just being honest. Now, get mad at me. I don't really care. We tried that already. It don't work. It don't work. And that's not an attack on no one else. It's us. We have to stop that stuff. I can respect you. I can learn from you. I can recognize your high rank. I can recognize your scholar. And I don't got to take away from my people and my family and my environment to make sure that I have reverence for you. I don't have to. Both can be accomplished. But is that what we do? No. We'll leave our whole mission. This is crazy, insanity. And only insane people do stuff like that. And we've been insane to our own detriment. But I guess enough of us don't got the courage to say it. Maybe that's the problem. We know it's real. We know it happens. And it happens over and over and over and over again. But, and that's what happens. Imam Naeem, you know what I'm talking about. You're in the area. Does that stuff come back to fix our community?
No, not at all. It
You're there.
drains
You go to
resources out of
Africa. You in Ghana, Gambia. You around all that. You see it. Does that come back and improve the situation of African American Muslims in this country?
No, sir.
So why we need to invite something like that? For what?
If you want to see what real support for our cause, our endeavors for the summit looks like, I want to remind you of last year's summit. Sheikh Yahya Rhodes, the companion of Imam Amin Muhammad, a white American scholar. He didn't come, or somebody didn't bring him and insist that he sit on the stage and insist that he speak. He came just to show support. He didn't even want to speak or be on the stage. He came to show support. Us, we so sick, we try to bring someone else and try to put them on the stage, or to put it another way, we try to invite everybody to the cookout, right? And put them behind the grill. It don't work like that.
To serve us food, they don't even eat.
Exactly.
Hey. I know this a hard dose of reality, but we have to stop it. We have to be deliberate and be like, you can't come put your foot on my table in my house. You're not coming in my house and put your foot on my table and tell my wife and go in the refrigerator. We ain't doing that. And our people, this is our house. No, you can't do that. You're gonna come in my house and you're gonna respect me. Did you see that video? I really, it was nice. What's the rapper brother that got killed in LA? The famous rapper guy was from had marathon clothing. What's his name? Come on, I know y'all listen to the stuff. Imam Naim, are you frozen? What's the guy's name? Nipsey Hussle. There's a video of Nipsey Hussle where did you see this video, Imam Naim? This Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle. There's a video where some paparazzi or somebody, they came taking pictures of him, like without his permission. So he went in the car and took their phone, and they was like, "Oh, you can't get off that phone." And he was giving it to him. He said, "Listen, you don't just come up and doing what you want with me." He said, "I don't care what you say, you're gonna respect my line." I don't know if you saw this video. He said, "I don't care what you say, you're gonna respect my line. And I'm gonna die for my line. I don't care about no jail, I don't care about none of that. You're gonna respect my line."
I don't think it was the same video I saw, but one reporter, a paparazzi dude, kept crossing that line. He punched him in the face.
All right, that's what he said to the dude. He didn't punch this one in the face. He said to the guy, he said, "Listen, if you would have caught me at another time, I would have checked your jaw, right? And I would have had my homegirl check your jaw." But the point he was making is, you're gonna respect our line. And that's how we have to be when we're dealing with others. We're gonna respect you, but you're gonna respect our line. Period. You're gonna respect our line. And I think we're gonna make others respect our line, and we better make us respect our line, right? You're gonna respect our line. And I agree with that 100%. But sometimes we don't even have a line to respect. You just come do whatever you want with us. We're so inferior that it ain't right unless someone else come tell us what to do. Man, we got to stop that stuff.
Man, when I'm in Africa and I'm going to like Africa, I don't like saying Africa is poor, but you get the point, because Africa ain't poor. It's just that other people is exploiting them and they allowing themselves to be exploited. But you get the point. When I say Africa is poor, you go into the poorest parts of certain places, they're not going to let you just come and do what you want to do because you're American, you got American dollars and all that kind of stuff. You're going to respect their leadership, and you're going to fall in line. Period. And they don't have nothing. Us, we here, and we let people come do whatever they want to do. SubhanAllah, the people that don't have no material resources are not going to allow you to come in their area and dictate and control anything. You're going to respect their leadership. You're going to respect their imam. You're going to respect everything. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I made a boo-boo. I forgot to go start the car. I usually do it early. I got to talking and forgot. Make sure you take care of your wife, because she take care of you. And even if she didn't take care of you, make sure you take care of her. So I know that's going to go probably viral. Keep in mind, don't take it personal. Get the point. I'm not talking about your sheikh. I don't have nothing against your sheikh. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about us. So don't take it personal, right? And understand our line. We are determined to chart our own directions. That doesn't mean we don't take advice. That doesn't mean we don't listen. But no one's going to lead us but us. We're not having it. That has to come to a complete stop. You can advise, you can give instructions, but we must lead. Is that abundantly clear? Everyone got me on that? I ain't stutter.
Samira, hush.
Everybody with me? Everybody got it? Don't misquote me. You can advise, you can share, you can teach, but we must lead. And if we ain't good at leader, you better teach us how to lead and let us lead. We're not following no one else. No, we're not doing it. We're going to respect you. We're going to have reverence for you, but we're going to produce our own leadership. Period. That's it.
And people will respect you when you move like that. Let me tell you a story. I was in some village. Don't ask me what village. And I was
Okay.
talking. I tell you offline, man. But I was talking to. I was having a meeting with the elders and the leaders in that village. We were talking about some things, and I said, yeah, I'm just one imam, but I belong to a network of imams, and we work together. They already knew. One of them said,
Dang, just when it get juicy, he go on froze. We'll wait for him, inshallah. But while we waiting for him, do y'all understand my point? Is it clear? Everyone understand? And if what I was talking about our determination to lead ourselves, does everyone understand what I'm saying? Uh-oh, he's totally gone. He'll be back. And listen, I honestly believe that's what we have to do. I've seen what following others have done for us. Nothing but cause more confusion. Here come the imam. I'm waiting for him. Hey, Malika, boy, I thought I lost you for a minute. MashaAllah. That was a close call. She's here. Go ahead. You were talking about the village and the group of imams.
what's the last thing you heard me say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I was we were talking, and I said I'm just one imam, but I'm not alone. I belong to a network of imams, and we work together, and we support each other in what we do, right? And so one of them said, "We know you are having African American Islamic Summit coming up in a couple of weeks, right?" I said, "Yeah." And we pulled up the flyer and showed everybody. And so I just want to mention that just to show that even people in deserts that barely have internet is know what we doing, and so I would just say that. But if people respect you when you come together under leadership and work in an organized fashion. That's extremely important.
Let me tell you what someone told me. They said, listen, all you got to do is leave that black stuff alone. I will take you all around the world. We will finance you. You can do whatever you want to do. We will make it work. Just leave off the black stuff and follow us. That's what was told to me. I kid you not. Someone told me that.
I really think it has to get to the point that when someone says that, regardless of who they are, that the energy changes so much in the room that they said it in that they begin to fear for their safety and they regret saying it. Even though we're not going to do nothing to them, but I think the energy needs to change so much that the hostility against what they just said is clear for everyone to see, and that they will never make that mistake again.
So, do y'all understand why the summit is necessary? And that doesn't mean others are not invited. Don't get that wrong. Oh, let me share. You are invited. You need to come too. You don't have to be African American to come, and let me tell you why. I'll share the why with my glasses. Because we have our own leaders that did examples, and Malcolm was a great one. He tried to do what he needed to do. Listen to this. Now I'm going to recast this. History is the best thing to reward your research, right? That's a Malcolm quote. He was forming his OAAU organization. So the question comes up, and I want you to recast this in our modern context. He said, now, he said, let me read the whole thing. Well, I won't go to that. He said, and the only way we can be independent of it, meaning the power structure, is to become independent of all support from the white community, right? Now, put this as in the 60s, right? 1964. So the biggest thing for them is white racism, right? He said, it's a battle that we have to wage ourselves. Let's emphasize that. It's a battle that we have to wage ourselves. Am I not saying the same thing, Imam Naim, in our context?
Exactly.
It's a battle that we have to wage ourselves. He continues. He said, now, if white people want to help, they can help, but they can't join. Let me go. Now, if white people want to help, they can help, but they can't join. They can help in the white community, but they can't join. This is Malcolm X. This is when he's not in the nation no more. He's building his own organization for the upliftment of our people. He said they can form the White Friends of the Organization of Afro-American Unity and work in the white community on white people and change their attitude towards us. That's how I feel about immigrants, Africans. So whether they're Arab or Desi or African, your support is to work in your community so we don't have the same things that we're talking about that make us by necessity have to do what we have to do. That's where you can work. And you can support us by helping us continue to do the work that removes these ugly things from our Muslim community so that we can work as a whole community together as an ummah. So yeah, you have a role, and maybe you don't know how to do that role. So maybe you need to come listen to us and see the problem firsthand from people who feel it, and therefore you can help. So there is a role. Since everybody loves Malcolm X, everyone claims Malcolm X. Okay, that's Malcolm X. That's Malcolm X. You should buy this book. You would read it, right? That's Malcolm X. That's what he said. And look what he said. They don't ever need to come among us and change our attitude. We've had enough of them working around us trying to change our attitude. That's what got us all messed up. Wow. That's what got us all messed up. We busy listening to everybody else tell us about us. No, why don't you go tell yourself about yourself? So we don't have to talk about that while we build ourselves up. This is the book. It's just a collection of his speeches. And all from the end of, all after he left the Nation of Islam. Only one speech from the time when he was in the nation. This is a very good, it's just all speeches, edited speeches. But I say that because he's being promoted as the real black Sunni that they don't really care about or respect truly, because they're talking about a image that ain't real, and the real Malcolm, the real Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, they don't want no parts of him, because we ain't saying nothing different than he said, but we get censored. We get the why, and then when they always claiming to follow Malcolm, we saying the exact same thing, and why is it problematic? Imam Naim, did you ever think about that? Why is it problematic? To me, I don't see nothing different. And we ain't even as vocal as he was.
I always think about that. What not shocks, because it doesn't shock me anymore. Well, a lot of times the objection don't even be coming from immigrants. It be coming from black folks. That's who I'm concerned about, because they still drinking the Kool-Aid. We still got to have this conversation over and over again about why it's okay to be black.
And here's the thing: when we get this, we gonna move. When we get this picture, and there is a critical mass among us who understand this, and we support each other, watch how fast we move, right? But unfortunately, after over 100 years of black activity and change, we still ain't got the email yet. Our email coming slower than your internet. Right? So this is the summit.
The way this internet is working, I might as well get back on a plane and fly back over the Atlantic and get online, because this stuff is terrible.
I'll put it up one more time. And you know why I'm saying this, Imam Naim? Because I know there are some people, and that's why I talked about this thing with Imam Fode. There are some people that want to change the summit to what they want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want the summit to be a recruiting ground for their stuff.
It's the same thing that happens in the black community in general. Like, just take Islam out of it, and you look at the way people are talking. You got people that are on the ground trying to make change. And then you got people that are just satisfied with black faces in high places and symbolism. So they want to make everything into a holiday and symbolic, but not produce any real change on the ground. We're having the same uh, dichotomy, the same issues in Islam, in the black community. It's just that it don't look like it because there's a lot of Arabic phrases and we're Muslim and all this kind of stuff. Some people are content with things staying exactly the way they are. I'm talking about black folks among us, Muslims. They're content with things staying exactly the way they are, but just some symbolic change, window dressing. You know, well, meanwhile, our communities are near extinction and everything else, but we have some, black faces in high places and symbolism and this virtual stuff online. They're content with that. They don't really want any real change.
All right, we've reached over an hour, inshallah, and I say this because I understand something that I think we need to really pay attention to. Watch how people try to hijack your movement. Watch it. Pay attention. Watch how people try to hijack your movement. Let me show you something. I got one more quote.
Y'all should listen to that speech that Malcolm gave. The message to the grassroots is my favorite speech he gave. But that's the same speech where he talks about the house Negro and the field Negro. But he talked about how they hijacked the March on Washington. And he named names. And I remember, I think it was his sister, Hilda, I saw in an interview, said that when he was giving that speech, he had receipts with him. He had newspaper articles and clippings saying it when he was saying it. I don't think a video of that speech exists, but the audio is well known. Message to the grassroots. How they hijacked the March on Washington. The March on Washington, where Martin Luther King gave that speech, I Have a Dream, and all of that. It started out as a grassroots speech. Black people were talking about marching on Washington and stopping stuff. Even like Malcolm said in his speech, they would even talk about laying down the runways so no airplanes can
land. Let me read it. Imam Naim, you ready?
Yeah.
He said the Negroes were out there in the streets. They were talking about how they were going to march on Washington. Right at that time, Birmingham had exploded. And the Negroes in Birmingham, remember, they also exploded. They began to stab the crackers. This is Malcolm X. That's what he said. They began to stab the crackers in the back, bust them upside their heads. Yes, they did. That's when Kennedy sent in the troops down in Birmingham. After that, Kennedy got on the television and said, this is a moral issue. That's when he said he was going to put out a civil rights bill. And when he mentioned civil rights bill and the Southern Crackers started talking about how they were going to boycott or filibuster it, then the Negroes started talking about what? That they were going to march on Washington, march on the Senate, march on the White House, march on the Congress, and tie it up, bring it to a halt, and not let the government proceed. They even said they were going out to the airport and lay down on the runway and not let any airplanes land. I'm telling you what they said. That was revolution. That was revolution. That was the Black Revolution. It was the grassroots out there in the street. It scared the white man to death, scared the white power structure in Washington, D.C. to death. I was there when they found out that this black steamroller was going to come down on the Capitol. They called in Wilkins. They called in Randolph. They called in these national Negro leaders that you respect and told them, call it off. Kennedy said, look, you are letting this thing go too far. The old time said, boss, I can't stop it because I ain't started. I'm telling you what they said. They said, I'm not even in it, much less at the head of it. They said, these Negroes are doing things on their own. They're running ahead of us. And that old shrewd fox, he said, if y'all all aren't in it, I'll put you in it. I'll put you at the head of it. I'll endorse it. I'll welcome it. I'll help it. I'll join it. Allah. A matter of hours went by. They had a meeting at the Carlisle Hotel in New York City. The Carlisle is owned by the Kennedy family. That's the hotel Kennedy spent the night at 2 nights ago. It belongs to his family. A philanthropic society, headed by a white man named Stephen Currier, called all the top civil rights leaders together at the Carlisle Hotel. And he told them, by you all fighting each other, you are destroying the civil rights movement. And since you're fighting over money from white liberals, let us set up what is known as the Council of United Civil Rights Leadership. Let's form this council. All the civil rights organizations will belong to it, and we'll use it for fundraising purposes. Let me show you how tricky the white man is. As soon as they got it formed, they elected Whitney Young as his chairman. And who do you think became the co-chairman? Stephen Currier, the white man, a millionaire. Powell was talking about it downtown at Cobo Hall today. This is what he was talking about. Powell knows what happened. Randolph knows it happened. Wilkins knows it happened. King knows it happened. Every one of that big six, they knew it happened. SubhanAllah. Do we hear the same thing happening in our own context now? Remove white man and put any other immigrant Muslim in there, and you'll find the same thing happening. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me, and you can ask any black imam to be honest, when they come in, they came in as friends and they went out with our people as their followers. Ask any black imam, when they invite these people to their communities, they come in as friends and they leave out the door with your people as their followers and leave you with less people and less support. Tell me I'm lying. Let's talk about it. Tell me I'm lying. Go ask your black imams, has that been the case? And let them be honest. They'll tell you yes. Absolutely. They'll come in the community. They won't even recognize the imam. They'll do the things behind the imam's back, and they'll go, and these blind following Negroes will go follow them and abandon their communities and abandon their imams, take the support from the black community and send it somewhere else. Tell me I'm lying. Imam, have you not seen this happen?
I've seen it too many times. And if you've been Muslim long enough, you've seen it too many times too.
So that's what we're fighting against. And I know it ain't popular, but freedom ain't popular either when it came to the black people. It is slavery and subjugation. That's what's become popular. And we need to change that narrative. It is a shame that in 2023, we're listening to something that happened in 1964 and 65 and 63, and all we got to do is replace words and the situation is the same. That is sad. All you got to do is take a word out and put a word in. Change people. That's it. The conversation is the same. You just change the name of the people. That's sad. And all of us know it. And if we accept it, we sad. We're sadder than the sad. Okay, I've riled myself up enough.
What is it about us that we can't understand this when we trying to do righteous stuff? But when we doing negative stuff in the streets or running a block, we understand this stuff perfectly. You bring somebody to the block, well, this is my man from the other neighborhood. What he doing here, right? You're not gonna let him run nothing. You're not gonna let him work his package off your block. No, man. We understand that with negative stuff that's gonna land you in jail or in hellfire, right? But when it comes to Deen, we don't get it at all. Zero. And it's also proof that we're not studying. Because if we really studied the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if we really studied the Sahaba, if we really study how they interacted with each other, you will see what we talking about in their practice. You couldn't just come and run somebody else's tribe where they from. That's crazy. When a tribe of people became Muslim, their leader was their leader. It wasn't some high level Sahaba coming to where they was at and okay, I'm your leader now because I've been with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from day one. No, the best you can do is you go back and you teach the people their father and then you go back to Medina with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the way they did it. Us, we I don't know why we don't understand that. But we talk about some street stuff, some negative stuff, it clicks right away. When it comes to the deen, it just don't click. We don't understand it. We think everybody's supposed to run over us. Everyone is supposed to control us. You know, I don't understand why you can understand it for drug dealing, but you can't understand it for Islam. And you got the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his seerah, and you have all of this documented evidence to show that that's how they did stuff. But you cool, you understand it when it comes to drug dealing, but you don't understand it when it comes to Islam. I don't understand that.
All right, Imam, are you still there or are you still having internet problems?
No, I stopped talking.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
So I want to clarify, all are welcome, all are encouraged, because we are a collective ummah, but we're going to run our own institutions, our own programs. We're going to set the agenda that's going to work for our needs and our concerns. And no one's going to interject in that. No one's going to say, y'all should be doing this. No, we know what we should be doing. And if we don't know, we better figure it out, right? And I'm telling you, when you do it, the respect level will look totally different. I'm going to tell you how strong the respect level is. While they were telling us Elijah Muhammad was misguided and wrong and all that, and they are correcting that, they were secretly working with him from behind the scenes. They were working with him behind the scenes. And you know why? People don't realize when we look at Malcolm going overseas, he already had those connections from before. He went overseas not once. He went overseas as a representative of the nation. They were already in place. That's why doors open for him so easy. Not because he left the nation. He was already known as a leader before he went over. And now that he wasn't under that structure, they said we could get double dipping. We can double dip. They offered Malcolm X $3.5 million to support their agenda, and he turned it down.
$3.5 million in 1964.
3.5.
Not 2023. Not 2023 money.
But at the same time, they're supporting Elijah Muhammad. They're making, and it's still the same today. They tell us to fight against Farrakhan while they take him on Hajj and put him in the palace.
And he's treated like royalty when he make Hajj.
That's what I'm saying. So it's a point for us that we got to understand that we're being played. We're being played. We're being played. And for us, that's a way of us constantly being played. The same thing happens over and over and over again. Over and over again. If we gonna fight, we gonna fight. We not fighting because of you. If we gonna disagree, we gonna disagree because we disagree, not because you told us to disagree. No. And we have enough to disagree with ourselves. But guess what? We're going to do that internally. And we're going to find our way out of it internally. Because if you do it, all of us going to be servants. That's reality. And we got to make the change. With that, I'll bring this one to a close. You're back in the country, Imam Naim, or you still en route?
Now I'm back in the country. I'm just not in Pittsburgh yet.
So we welcome you back. We're glad you returned safely, and we look forward to starting some more fitna together.
Allahu Akbar. Some good trouble.
Good. So we'll close out with Al-Fatiha. Inshallah, may Allah give us success. And more than success, may Allah give us courage. Because if we have courage, we're going to get success. May Allah give us courage so that we can be successful. Because no one's going to accept from us being courageous. They're used to us cowing down to them. We have to stand up, right? We have to have courage. So, inshallah, may Allah reward us all. Bisir Surah Al-Fatiha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hold on, Imam.